What's up, Joel? I'm so excited to have you back on the podcast. You were here in January of last year, kicked off the year for us, and that podcast episode ruled. And it took me forever to track you back down to get you back on the podcast, by the way, which we changed the name of now. So it's called Get Leaner and Live Longer. But welcome back, brother.
Thanks, man. I was going to ask, have your thoughts on carbs changed? Because it was a low carb hustle.
Yeah. So I would I was talking a lot a bit more about carbs and low carb backloading. I still have the same thoughts, but I'm just not really touching much on that keto carnivore space quite as often. So I just didn't feel like the name adequately reflected that. I've been really hyper focused on just like, how do you get lean? How do you live longer and just improve your longevity, which seems like what kind of most people are talking about, thinking about these days. It lines up with my interests as well. And this, since everything's all about me, it felt right.
That's right. Go with what you know.
But since we talked last, you actually wrote and published a book called The Total Reset, and it's got your jacked bod on the cover. Tell me a little bit about that process. How was that?
It flowed out of me, man. I don't know if I know you have actually. Normally I would say I don't know if you have, but knowing you personally, I know you have been. You know, when you're creating something and it really speaks to you and you can't wait to wake up in the morning and you're staying up late and working on it. Like you get up to pee at 2:30 in the morning and you're like, close enough. I could get an extra 3 hours working on this thing. Which is it's so fleeting because once it's complete, it could be another year, another 3 years before you get that inspiration again. But man, I really enjoyed. I had that when writing this book. So I knocked it out in probably about a month, but it was really all I did for about a month.
Dude, that's amazing. I know exactly what you're talking about. And I feel like that's like when you're there, it's like hard to get yourself to focus on anything else.
Yeah. Just passion. But it came up because, number one, I have a different take on fitness than a lot of other fitness coaches, which is I talk to fitness coaches and for workouts, they go, well, I have my clients calculate their 1 rep max and then do 3 sets of your 80% RPE. And then I'm like, dude, I work with middle-aged dads who have like multiple kids and they're at work all day getting chewed out by their boss. The last thing they want to do is go to the gym after a long day and break out their calculator. Tell them to do 4 sets of 8 squats. Like that's it. You don't have to jog in place. You don't have to do any crazy calculations. Just go move some weight around. And then as far as diet, as you know, and I'm not knocking anyone else's hustle, but for my demographic specifically, which is, again, busy guys, tracking calories and macros just isn't the one, unless you're going to be up on stage in 12 weeks and you have 10 pounds to lose and you want to do everything exactly perfect. If you got 30 pounds to lose, prioritize quality food, get enough protein, hit some sort of fasting schedule that makes sense for the goals you're working on. Frees up your time, gives you more time to build your business or spend time with the family. So, of course, I wanted to get all that information in there. But what was really crazy was I was just becoming aware of the correlation between the way some of my clients talked about themselves and other clients talked about themselves in the vast difference in results they would either get or maintain. And for example, I had a guy on my podcast. His name's Ben Shed. We call him Lionheart because he's in the winner's circle. He did his rite of passage. He's a beast, but he did like a 30-day fast. This was like a year ago. And
he said, in case you thought you misheard, he said a 30-day fast. So
yeah, 30-day fast. Crazy guy, which you definitely don't need to do that. I've never done that. I've done like 1 7-day fast. But anyways, again, built different. And that's the words he used. So I had him on my podcast. I'm like, dude, how are you able to fast for 30 days? And, humble, but he's like, dude, I don't know. Just stuff like this is easy for me. I'm built different. And then I'm like, man, built different. That's cool. And I noticed the way he always described himself was very, this stuff's easy for me. I'm built different. And he would use words to describe his journey that made it sound really easy. And he was having an easy time. And this is a guy, he did my Shed Fat Fast program 5 years ago. He's just gotten better and better and better results year after year, which, as a coach and as a human is very tough to do, very tough to stay on top of. And then I noticed that people who went through my program and maybe they lost 30 or 40 pounds, but then they reach back out 6 months later, they were using completely different language. Like, I always do this. I always self-sabotage. I'm a yo-yo dieter. And at some point, I used to think that they were saying that because that was their experience. But then I started to get to the point that I started to think, well, maybe that's their experience because they say it all the time. And it just woke me up to the fact that even so, those were past clients. So then I started looking at current clients. And again, with fasting, you typically don't plateau as much as you do with like some other methodologies I've experimented with. But I would notice the guys that would, like, we'd hop on a group coaching call and they'd say, oh, I know it's not going to be like 5 pounds a week forever. Like, inevitably, I'm going to plateau and we'll have to figure it out. And then inevitably, they'd plateau every single time. And then we had some guys who were like, man, this is the missing link. This, like, losing fat's easy. I can't believe I've been complicating it this long. No plateau. I'm like, what is going on here?
This is crazy. And I think that like you're talking about something that is so far outside of most people's conceptual paradigm about working out and nutrition, because it's this underlaying level of what our subconscious processes, the opportunities we're looking for, and how we choose to identify ourselves, which everyone is doing at some level but like we're still focused on the carbs, the fats, and the proteins that we don't even like loop this in as a part of our physical journey. So this shit's crazy to me. And it's something I've also believed this a lot, like in my own life. And I've never even like necessarily thought about the plateau aspect and kind of the almost like putting a curse on yourself by projecting this out into the universe and being like, I know there's a plateau coming, and then inevitably it comes, right? But I love things like this where you say like, hey, I'm built different. Like, this stuff's just easy for me. I'm the type of person who does what they say they're going to do. And I like that so much. I tattooed that on my arm. My mom loves this tattoo. She hates it. But I got that word inevitable tattoo because I wanted to like put a talisman on my body that dictates how I go through life. And it's a little heavy because like I can't say something and then not do it. If I say something, like people are like, well, you got to show up. You said you're inevitable. Like that's like you can't say you're going to write a book and then not write a book when that's who you claim to be. And I love that identity piece and the kind of the missing link in terms of getting results or literally hitting any goal in life.
Yeah, it really almost speaks to like a degree of we can all fall into victim consciousness, and it's almost like an easy way out, but you never really grow or get the results you're looking for when you fall into it. So so after going through this whole, like, what is going on? These people are pretty much telling me the results they're going to get ahead of time. It's just kind of like, this is wild. Uh, just through a series of synchronicities, I'm sure you've experienced this too. When the universe is trying to tell you something, it's like five dominoes line up. It's like, I'd never heard of the subconscious mind until 3 weeks ago. Now, everywhere I look, people are talking about the subconscious mind. It's on my algorithm on Instagram. I put on a podcast I've been listening to for 2 years, and all of a sudden someone drops something about the subconscious mind. I'm like, okay, I'm listening. Enlighten me about the subconscious mind. And so I come to find out they've pretty much proven, I guess, whatever, that 95% of our decisions are unconscious decisions, meaning we just do it. Our brain likes shortcuts. So I think everyone who's ever tried to hit a fitness goal can relate to, you wake up, you're like, it's Monday, I shit the bed all weekend, but I told myself I'm going to get after it this week. I wake up early, I hit the gym, I either do an intermittent fast or I meal prep, I eat clean all day, I do really good, nail it until about dinner time, right after dinner time, and then all of a sudden you just can almost like snap to and find yourself in front of the pantry. And you're like, how'd I even get here?
Mm-hmm.
Or like, what happened? Or the one I talk about in the book is dads specifically, they'll do good all day, and then after dinner, they notice that even though they had like chicken breast and a sweet potato, and their whole family had like spaghetti or chicken nuggets and mac and cheese, they'll adhere to their plan all day. They'll finish their chicken and sweet potato, but then they'll notice that their daughter has like a couple extra chicken nuggets and some mac and cheese, and they just can't possibly bear to throw it in the trash. So they eat a couple chicken nuggets and mac and cheese. Then they're like, oh, my diet shot. Then they get into the pantry or the freezer or the liquor cabinet or whatever it is. Totally self-sabotage. What they don't understand is that that trigger, the seeing the wasted food on their kid's plate, was actually embedded in them in an early age, usually by like a dad that said there's kids starving in Africa, or you're so ungrateful, you got to finish on your plate. What's on your plate, or if you want to get big and strong, you got to eat all your food. And we make this correlation from a young age that if we don't eat all our food, or if any food gets wasted, we're a bad person. And so even though you're like, dude, I don't want the chicken nuggets and mac and cheese, I'm not even hungry anymore, I wouldn't eat that on my worst day. But subconsciously running in the background, there's this trigger, but I'm not a bad person. I can't let that food go to waste. I can't just throw it in the trash or give it to the dog. I have to eat it. And it's like that for everything. Like, we make all these emotional responses that really don't make any logical sense to us, because we told all our friends we're trying to lose 20 pounds. We told all our friends we're going to go to the gym every day or wake up at 4:30 in the morning and do a morning routine. But then we tell ourselves we're not a morning person, or we're a yo-yo dieter, or that I always self-sabotage. And then when you speak it and you really believe that's the case, you might get temporary results, but inevitably that 95% is going to kick that 5%'s ass eventually. It's wild.
You can never out train like a disparity in your identity. You can white knuckle it for a little bit, but you always fall back to who you believe you are. You can't muscle through that. So I have some questions for you about like the subconscious, but first, like, how do you talk to your daughters about food on the plate? Like, what do you do if you're like, hey, we're having green beans tonight, and they're like, we don't like green beans, we want more pizza or chicken, whatever it is? How do you talk to them about, like, try the food, or you can like be done with the food? Like, what's your strategy there?
That's a good question. Our kids waste a shitload of food. And I've never, to my recollection, said you got to finish what's on your plate or whatever. But quick sidebar, because when you immerse yourself in this, you're like, oh, words really matter. And especially between the ages of 0 and 7, when you're like a sponge, you're like a recorder. Like we have twin daughters that are 3, and one of them's like a runt and one of them's like a normal kid. But the normal kid is quote unquote heavy by comparison. So my wife, Amy, always picks her up and she goes, oh, you're so heavy. I'm like, babe, you got to cut that shit out, dude. Because she started repeating it. My wife would pick her up and she's like, I'm so heavy. I'm like, that can't be her identity, dog. What are we doing here? Like, stop saying that immediately. Because even though there's no malintention behind it, and my wife doesn't mean anything by it, I mean, if you're told on a daily basis from the time you're, I don't know, 1 year old, you stop picking your daughters up at 4 or 5, that you're heavy, and you don't expect that to stick in the subconscious. I mean, you wonder, like, you ever see someone at Walmart and they're like 800 pounds? And you're like, dude, I couldn't be 800 pounds if someone told me they'd give me $1 billion to be 800 pounds. I don't even know how that's physically possible. Well, the only way I could see that as possible is if someone's subconscious identity has been so beaten down that they're heavy over and over and over and over with all this repetition, that you believe I'm heavy, and you start making decisions in alignment with someone who identifies as being heavy. I don't know. That was a quick sidebar. I don't know how you reminded me of that, but
Yeah, that's really, really important. And I feel like, I mean, thank God for therapy. I know my kids are going to need it, but like, man, it's so hard to watch your language around them and like, and not install that subconscious programming, because like it's going in no matter what. Like, how do you say things in a way that don't relate to body image issues and stuff like that? Like, I've got a friend who's a emotional eating coach, and she helps women break through their emotional eating like patterns. And she said hers started when she said she remembers back to when she jumped off the counter, and she's like slight. She's very skinny. Jumped off the counter at like Thanksgiving when she was like 11, 12, 13. And one of her uncles goes, sounds like you're like an elephant, or made some comment about how heavy she was, like the noise she made. And she's like, and then like, I remember from that point on binging cookies in my room and like thinking about like that comment. And so like, she's like, that was what really started for me. So I'm like, how do you avoid doing that and giving that curse to your children?
It's
Ooh, it's a
wild.
full-time job.
Yeah, I think you can filter it. Dude, I wrote the book on it, or one of the books on it. But and even still, I'll catch myself. I'll have to like go back and course correct after I say something,
Mm-hmm.
because my wife, same example, same thing with your friend's uncle. He wasn't trying to give her some sort of disorder. He was like making a funny joke, trying to be the funny uncle at Thanksgiving or what have you. Little did he know that was going to set her up for years and years of terrible relationship with food and fitness. But sometimes you'll just say something, and then with kids especially, you can kind of see when they're digesting it, like thinking about it, and you're like, oh, wait a minute. I don't overthink that one. I was just
Yeah. Let that one
saying
go.
something.
You're like, hey, look over here. Look over here.
Yeah. So then I'll have to go back and be like, hey, baby, I didn't mean like, you're on my nerve or whatever it was.
Yeah.
To go back to your question, we really don't do a whole lot with our kids' food. I mean, they're really terrible eaters, as most kids are.
Do you make them try new stuff, or if they don't want to try it, you don't make them?
I think we do try to get them to at least taste it for sure.
Okay.
Which is funny because we used to always be the people that are like, when we have kids, they're going to eat what we eat. If they don't want to eat it, they can just go without. And now it's always like, what do you guys want? Peanut butter and jelly?
Dino nuggets. We got that.
Yeah, chicken nuggets again.
We do a no thank you bite. They're like, I don't want this. I'm like, well, you have to take a no thank you bite. You have to at least try it. And then they make the worst faces. And I'm like, you knew ahead of time that you were not going to want to eat that.
I like that. Yeah, kids are tough eaters, man. But you got to just realize that's part of the game, and just so as a parent, kind of effing them up a little bit. I mean, no one's perfect. We can all try to do better, but the key is, I mean, so there's almost like a progression. I write about this in the book. The very first thing is with your own subconscious beliefs. You're like, all right, if subconscious by definition means I can't access it, I can't see behind the dark curtain. So there's all these things sabotaging me, all these behaviors, and a lot of people around can see them, but me, I'm blind to them because they're below the surface. How am I even aware? How do I even become aware of what they are? Well, the answer to that is you just ask yourself, which areas in your life are you constantly butting up against a glass wall? And it's almost like you're in this pattern of just being stuck. Do you always date the same person that, I don't know, punches you in the face? Or like, do you always lose 20 pounds just to gain 25 back? Have you done that multiple times? Whatever it is. Where do I keep getting stuck? And then what you do is you try to figure out, once you've isolated the area, you try to figure out the root cause of what happened to that. So that example I said about the guy that like hits the gym in the morning, does good all day, and then because he can't possibly watch food go to waste, and then because his diet's ruined anyway, I'm an all-in, all-out type of person. That's another one.
Do that a lot.
Yeah. I've said that probably 100 times. But again, is it serving you, dude? If it's not serving you, stop saying it and then just change it. But so that guy, for example, is like, dude, why did I eat my kids' French fries even though they didn't look that appetizing? They were cold. I wasn't hungry. Why did I eat the French fries? Then you'd go back and ask yourself, all right, specifically during my childhood, whenever I was very impressionable, why did I feel like maybe I was a bad person or I was doing something wrong if I let food go to waste, for example? And it's crazy. Stuff will just come up. You'll remember stuff. Kind of like your friend that remembered the cookie thing. So that's number one. And then, because those reps, you mentioned the reticular activating system before we started the podcast, which essentially means you start looking for stuff that's familiar. So the old example is like you buy a black Chevy pickup truck. All of a sudden, you see black Chevy pickup trucks everywhere because now it's like front of mind. You'll see it everywhere. So what tends to happen is when we're kids, we'll get this worldview shaped upon us. For example, if you waste food, you're a bad person. That's the initial worldview. Now the reticular activating picks up. It's like, all right, start looking for proof because I trust my parents. And it'd be really, really scary if I couldn't trust my parents because my life depends on them. They're my caretakers. Now start looking for proof that wasting food makes you a bad person. And now all of a sudden, you see it everywhere because you're biased and your brain's looking for it. So now fast forward 20, 30, 40 years of having this reticular activating system trying to prove that your initial worldview of wasting food makes you a bad person. It's just so embedded, you can't break out of it from all that repetition. So what you have to do, or what I would recommend you do, a lot of experts would recommend you do, is start by saying either affirmations, which is like, I am totally cool letting food go to waste. I am not a bad person for throwing away my kids' chicken nuggets or whatever. Repetition wise, or what I really prefer to the affirmations, because sometimes affirmations sound like you're lying to yourself when you know, like, mentally you do have a problem throwing food away. So you're lying to yourself. But so many times, hopefully you start to believe it. Affirmations are affirmations but posed as a question. So when you ask your subconscious mind or your mind a question, it goes to work. It presumes it's true for one, and then it goes to work trying to find reasons why it's true. So what you would do is you say, why am I totally cool with throwing my kids' leftover chicken nuggets away? And then, especially if you do it before bed, I'll just tell you a hack. What I do is I record my affirmations and then I, in my own voice, and I listen to them in my headphones before I go to bed. And it's like, man, why do fitness clients come so quickly and easily for me? Why am I such a great husband and father? Why is it so easy for me to scale my business? Why am I able to stay single digit body fat and still be like the most jacked dude in the world? You know, and your brain, because you're in the theta state as you're going to bed and as you're waking up. So you listen to these questions, kind of like half willy-nilly, you're fading out. You're like, well, why do I have $1 million in the bank? Man, why can't my wife keep her hands off me? And your brain legitimately goes to work. You can almost like see and feel the gears turning as you sleep of your brain, like, well, have you thought about doing this with your business? This would be a really good idea to maybe do something for your wife so she can't keep her hands off you. Well, there's a really good investment opportunity that you saw on some, like, I don't know, group or whatever your friend brought to you. That could be a good way to make $1 million. And your mind's just like trying to solve all these problems while you're sleeping. But what it's really doing is combating the negative reps that keep you stuck in the self-sabotage cycles with reps of your choice that actually get you to where you want to go.
Dude, that monologue, like take that traveling, because that was insane what you just said. And like, I've studied self-conscious and mindset. There's this book I read like once every year or two called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. Like, I've been reading it since college. So
Joseph Murphy, right?
Yep. That's a good one. It's the same book written like 16 different times, but reading good sections is nice. So like, I'm well aware of this. And this is the first time I've ever heard of the idea of asking yourself questions ahead of time. Do you know who Robert Louis Stevenson is? He wrote Treasure Island.
I don't.
So he wrote Treasure Island. Yeah. But he didn't write Muppet Treasure Island, in case you were wondering. That was someone else. But he was a prolific writer, like really like well-regarded American writer. And he called his subconscious his brownies. I don't know why, but he's a weird dude probably. But he would task his brownies with stuff when it came to creating works of fiction at night. So he would do the same thing. I've never even thought about asking questions as a way of like, I've like thought about the affirmations of, I've done the recordings, and you're right. It just feels a little bit cheesy, a little bit like I'm trying to trick myself. the questions is incredible. But he would say like, okay, in this story, this is happening. Long John Silver's doing this. What happens next? And he would go to sleep. And he said he would task his brownies, his subconscious, with helping him come up with the next steps in the book. And he'd wake up and be like, aha, here's what happens next. And I think like, I've always heard that and been like, wow, that's super interesting. I like, what must be nice to be a fiction writer. But wow, like the power of doing that for like relationship goals, parenting goals, finance goals, fitness goals. That's incredible right there.
You can actually, so we're really we're going real wide, not super deep, because this is a broad subject. I mean, if it accounts for 95% of your actions, thoughts, and behaviors, we're not going to be able to uncover the entire thing right now. But what's
wrap it up in 30
wild,
minutes, no problem. We'll figure it out.
What's really wild about the subconscious mind is like, I'll say it. She won't listen to the podcast. Nothing against you. She doesn't listen to my podcast or anything. My wife's awesome, but I would kind of like chuckle because the affirmations that I would say about myself, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm in control of that. I'm in control of my fitness. And if I wake up in the morning and if I lift and if I work really hard in my business and if I make the right moves, but I would kind of, how you described the affirmations is how I felt when I did the affirmations about like, I would do it about my wife. And I would be like, why does my wife age like a fine wine? Why can't my wife keep her hands off me? Why is my wife so sexually attracted to me? Which at first there was like this friction because it's like, dude, is this cheating? Because she's not even like, her subconscious can't even hear this. But what's crazy is, I've talked to other guys about this that had the same exact experience. I started to notice legitimately everything that I had programmed on my affirmations about my wife started happening. Like legitimately, things started to get way better. And I can attribute that to maybe I was approaching her a different way. Maybe my energy around her was different. Maybe I was more receptive to things or what have you because of the affirmations I was doing. But legitimately, I don't know what happened, but everything that I put about her in my affirmations over time kept getting more and more true. I could chalk that up to, they say like your wife is a reflection of you. That's why they can piss you off so good. Like they know all your weak points and everything. And we can get wrapped up in these self-fulfilling prophecies. So for example, if my subconscious mind, based on some behavior from when I was a kid or teenager or whatever, has like, oh, I got to work really hard for women to want to have sex with me. And then I get married and I come in with that same mindset. Oh yeah, she never wants to have sex. She just wants to play on her phone. She just wants to watch the Kardashians or Love is Blind. Like she never wants to. If that's my mentality, then I am going to start acting like that. I'm going to be on the other side of the couch on my phone. I'm going to be like downstairs doing something else, right? Because I view her through my own subconscious lenses that she's this cold-hearted bitch that never wants to have sex. So in my, victim-y mind, that's what I was telling you earlier. She's the problem. I'm the victim. Woe is me. But when you change your own subconscious and you're like, dude, my wife is fucking sexy, man. And she craves me so bad. She always wants to touch me and she's so nice to me. And then you actually start to believe it. Well, now you're sitting on the same side of the couch as your wife. You rub her leg a little bit. You give her a kiss on the head. And do you think she's going to start acting different eventually? Hell yeah, she is. So that was what was really crazy is like these affirmations weren't only like starting to change my own beliefs, but also like my beliefs about the people closest to me, which in turn kind of made them change, at least in my own eyes.
Wow. That's incredibly powerful. Yeah. I think it's just like how you show up for those other people is again, highly dependent on what you believe about yourself, and people respond to that in kind. Like I remember when we were first going through marital counseling early on before we got married. Like the only gripe I had with my wife at the time was that she would oftentimes, I'd be doing something messing around. She'd go, I hate you. I was like, and so I brought that up at counseling and I was like, I really don't like it when she says that because I feel like that's like, I don't want that in the universe. I don't want to put that out there. And she's stopped doing that. And Like yeah, like that's meant a lot to me. My daughter the other day said something very similar. Like, I don't like you, dad, or whatever else. And I was like, cool. I get that you're frustrated right now, but like, that's not how we talk to people in this family. Cause like, we don't need that sort of energy. The other thing that I believe about the subconscious mind is that it does not hear negatives. I'm not a bad person is in your mind. I'm a bad person.
Yeah.
I'm a good person is I'm a good person, but like,
Yeah.
I don't eat bad food. I eat bad food.
I won't self-sabotage again.
Yeah. What are your thoughts around that and like the phrasing in the positive versus negative?
Yeah, I think you try to, and this again, you can argue anything. So I know you have a broad audience, so I'm just trying to cover all the bases. You can phrase any. I recommend people phrase things the way they want them to be. Now, you could argue what I was getting at is that you cross the line and you become delusional, which that's not what I'm saying. But for example, I know a lot of people very close to me, and they'll say, "Oh, I think I'm getting sick. Peyton's sick, and now I think I'm getting sick." And I always make it a point to say out loud, "Oh, I never get sick." To the point that they're like, "Fuck you, man." But I say it out loud because I don't want I think I'm getting sick to trickle into my atmosphere at all.
100%.
So I speak it out loud.
And you get sensitive to that once you start paying attention.
Dude, 9 times out of 10, they get sick. I legitimately never get sick ever. So that's what I'm saying. And I say about in the book, and they've done studies on that. People that say, "Oh, I don't get sick, I'm super healthy, I'm a physical specimen," they get sick way less frequently. Now, that doesn't mean you're coughing up blood, you're shitting your pants, and you're saying, "Oh, I'm not sick." I just probably wouldn't say anything at that point. Probably,
yeah, keep it inside.
It. But yeah, you're spot on. I would always try to avoid the negative connotation, even if it's spun as a positive. Like, I'm not gonna yell at my kids tomorrow or whatever. Instead, reframe it as, I'm a patient and loving father. Right? You can't lose.
Yeah. In jiu-jitsu, a lot of times people are always like, I've been starting to do jiu-jitsu the last couple of years, and people are always like, "Oh, I'm tired." They're like, "Are you tired?" And I always go, "No, I'm not tired. I got an endless cardio tank." And while that is aspirational for me, I do feel like, number one, I can go a lot longer than I was before I started talking about that way. And number two, it freaks people out when you're like, "I'm not tired." And they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh shit, this guy's not tired." Like, I'm a little tired.
Take their soul.
You can take someone's soul a little bit. And like, even if all things are equal, like, I have the edge because my mindset is in your head.
Yeah. Yeah. I was listening to Jesse Itzler had an Instagram post, I think like last week, and he was doing one of his 100-mile endurance races, and he was at mile 80, and he was with this other endurance runner, and he said that they were just like, Jesse was dragging ass and just having a terrible time. Legs are sore. He like wanted to quit, but he's drudging on. And his buddy looked over to him and he's like, "You know, the craziest thing is?" And Jesse Itzler's like, "What's that?" He's like, "Dude, I never get tired. I'm incapable of ever getting tired." And Jesse Itzler's like, "Yeah, man, like whatever, yeah, whatever." And he's like, "No, dude, say it with me. I never get tired, man. I legitimately don't even know what it feels like to be tired." And they just went on this huge like shouting match of like, "Yeah, we don't get tired, yeah." And then they just blazed through the last 20 miles like it was nothing. But that's really what it is, man. Speak what you want. It's like, speak what you want to see, to feel, to experience. And worst case scenario, people will say you've got a positive attitude and nothing works. But at least you're not a Debbie Downer. Best case scenario, your whole life changes.
Yeah, what do you have to lose? Like, people will want to hang out with you and be friends with you because you're not a complainer.
Exactly.
Like, have you ever been around someone who's like complaining all the time, who always has the worst luck? Everything bad always happens to them.
The worst.
You want to hang out with them very often?
And then it does.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
Yeah, unlucky people who talk about how unlucky they are just can stay in that zone.
Uh-huh.
But also like just people who are complainers in general have a objectively worse life. And I do not want to be around that. It's like, it's like gross. Like I'm like, get that off of me. Don't put your complaining in my circle, because I'm trying to cultivate this positive mental mindset and continue to like look for aspirational things and look for reasons that things are the way that I think they are.
The perfect segue, Nate. It's like we planned this. Perfect segue. You nailed it. So step one is figure out which areas you're bumping up against the wall. Figure out what negative programming is bouncing around in that subconscious. Number two, you'll start to realize based on the language you use that what you're affirming. And you want to cut that out immediately and reframe it. So that's just kind of what we talked about. If you catch yourself saying, I'm not a morning person, and you're the type of person that can't wake up in the morning and get up, then that's
I become more of a morning person every time I wake up early.
That's right. I love
change
waking
it.
up in the morning. Yeah. So step three is once you've started mastering your own verbiage and language of how you describe the world, now all of a sudden, like I was saying about my wife picking up our daughter and saying you're heavy, now you're going to realize that there's people in your immediate network that are labeling you, that are using negative talk describing you, that is just, again, reaffirming the negative. And you want to ideally cut those people out of your life if you can help it, but you can't always. So you might have to have some uncomfortable conversations and just say, just like you did with your wife, beautiful example. Hey, I know you're just joking. I know we're like palling around and we have that kind of relationship, but if I can be honest with you for a second, when you say that you hate me, it really kind of hurts my feelings. If we could try to stop that, it'd mean a lot to me. Like, that's it. Or if your wife says like, oh, you're dieting again, how do you take that if you've been a yo-yo dieter the last 10 years? Well, you might have to have a tough conversation. Say, hey, like, I know I'm human. I've made some mistakes, but I'm really motivated. Your support would mean a lot to me. I'm really trying to focus on the positive here. So I give you permission. If you catch me saying anything negative, to call me out. I hope you'll give me the same permission. But the goal is that I can be the leader for this family. Yada, yada, yada. Frame it however you want. But that's step three. You're going to notice people around you are like putting their negative crap on you.
Dude, this is so good. Is there a step four?
Step four is, again, you want to replace. So that's what the winner circle is for me, man. That's why the Shed Fat Fast program, it's 90 days, and it's very like demographic specific. It's kind of like your vibe attracts your tribe type of scenario. But number four is surround yourself with people that speak life into you. They really do think you're a badass. That really do think you can change the world or at least lose 20 pounds and keep it off. That are just like building you up instead of sucking all your energy out.
Dude, this is like, I'm glad we haven't talked a single thing about calories or macros today, because like I think this is possibly one of the most powerful, most valuable lessons that if people can go back and repeat this and replay this episode multiple times, they're going to get something new out of it every single time. So
yeah, we all know our network's important, but this hopefully explains why it is.
Talk a little bit about the winner circle, how you came up with that idea, because it feels to me like kind of seeing your guys' stuff on the like from the outside, it seems like something where you're like, I want this for me, and other guys were like, we also want it for us.
Yeah, this is perfect timing. So the winner circle is essentially I have a 90-day fitness program for like the top 10% of guys. They come through, they're absolute animals. They're showing up to coaching calls, they're participating, they get good results, they're fun to be around. They get extended an invite into what's known as the winner circle, which is more of like a brotherhood that happens after the 90 days. Twice a year we meet up, we run fitness challenges, but at the end of I do like a group call every week. Some are better than others, but the whole benefit of it is the community itself. It is that step four that I just talked. It's like, hey, step four, we got you covered. We already built the community. Now you're invited into it. So the perfect way to put this is my buddy Josh Callahan, aka Finn. He did my 90-day program like 5 months ago, and he lost 50 pounds, and we're on his like offboarding graduation call or whatever. And he's like, man, I know like it came off pretty easily. Well, here we go. This is gonna be perfect circle to the podcast. But I know I'm going to hit a point where like I plateau or I need to like switch things up. So what do I do for them? And I'm like, dude, I'm going to be honest with you. None of that really matters. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, your rep count, how many sets you do, your fasting schedule. That's like very micro splitting hairs. Anything will work for you. The macro, like the big hinge that's going to move like the biggest door, is going to be the people you're surrounded with. And this all came to light because so he joined the winner circle. He's been crushing ever since. But on Sunday, one of the guys in the winner circle, whose hoodie I'm actually wearing right now, mailed it to me, Eagle, he goes, man, I wonder if it's possible to do 100-hour fast and do 100 miles on foot within that 100-hour fast. And then Josh goes, well, only one way to find out. And so these two maniacs for the last 4 days have just been fasting and walking like 25 miles a day. And Josh is local to me. So, of course, if the kids are asleep or I woke up early this morning and I went and got like 10 miles with him last night. I got like 6 miles with him this morning. And it's funny because we went back on this conversation and I was like, do you remember what I told you about just like the magic is being surrounded by savages? You wouldn't be doing this 100-hour fast or walking, running, jogging 100 miles if Eagle didn't ask that question. And my dumb ass wouldn't be here at 5 a.m. walking with you if I wasn't in your circle too. So it just is like that. If you can surround yourself by people that are just a little bit different but positive and think you can do anything, they can do anything, you can only be in that environment so long before you're like, okay, yeah, maybe I am. Maybe I can't. Dude, maybe I can do 100 miles and
maybe I am built different.
Yeah, dude.
God. Dude, Joel, this has been insane. Go get Joel's book right now, Total Resets, on Amazon. It's on Audible yet? Audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, go get it. Listen to him. Like this has been a little teaser. So jump into that book, check him out. If you have any questions around fasting mindset, reach out to him. I think he's Joel Staley on Instagram.
Joel Staley Fitness. And if any of your listeners, man or woman, doesn't matter, send me a message on Instagram. I put together my secret weapon. I call it brainwashing yourself to be successful. So kind of like I told you, I record the affirmations and listen to them before I go to bed. Another hack, which I'm pretty sure I invented, there's something called mind movies. You know about like the power of visualization, right?
Mm-hmm.
They say, and I talk about this in the book too. They did like experiments. People just visualize practicing free throws, compared it to the people that actually practice free throws, same improvement, all that kind of stuff. Visualization is very important. Conor McGregor talks about it, Kobe, everyone. But it's hard, dude. A lot of times you're just sitting there with your eyes closed and you're like, did I remember to switch the clothes from the washer to the dryer? It's really tough. So what I created this thing called a mind movie, but it's VR. So you get these $20 VR goggles off Amazon and you create like your own 2.0 life. So mine is, mine's real tacky. I'm like getting on a private jet. All my friends it's just B-roll clips, but it's like point of view, first person character. So you put it on. It's the first thing I do in the morning. I watch like this 8 to 10 minute mind movie while you're in that theta state. And it's like, I'm driving this crazy sports car through these windy mountains. I'm dancing with my wife at the beach. And it's just tells your mind, hey, this is my life. I'm the kind of person that speaks on stage, boards private jets, hangs out with my friends, has a good time. And it is batty. The kind of insanely awesome mood it puts you on, puts you in for the day. And let me say one last thing about it. What's really crazy is kind of like the affirmations I was doing with my wife, and I'm kind of like, okay, whatever. I had part of my mind movie was I was driving a sports car. I think it was like a Camaro or something through these windy mountains. I'm like, okay, I drive a Chevy Trail Boss, and I'm in Omaha, Nebraska. There's no mountains. It's no sports car. Our last winter circle trip, I didn't even think of this wasn't planned, but we just so happened to get a Toro. We got a Cybertruck. And so I'm driving the Cybertruck, and I'm going through these windy mountains in Sedona, Arizona. I'm like, dude, why does this look so familiar? I'm having like fucking deja vu right now. I'm like, this is straight out of my mind movie. Like, I visualized this. I manifested this shit right here. So what I'm saying is I have like a 60-minute training. I'll just give it to your people for free if they send me a message on Instagram.
Bro, I'm going to go get it right now.
I'll send it to you. Dude, it's awesome.
I'm excited. Dude, Joel, this has been amazing. Got to have you back on. I want to talk about rite of passages and some other stuff that you're doing well. So, dude, thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Nate. You're changing the world, buddy. I love you.
We're working on it.